Okay, I'm back. All right, so let's continue to talk about persuasive speaking. So we just finished up talking about Aristotle's rhetorical appeals, ethos, pathos, and logos. And if you remember when we first met on the first days of class, I talked about, he's really, this particular philosopher is the backbone of how we approach public speaking in our culture today, especially our Western culture. We believe and we utilize that criteria to determine if a speech is balanced and is it a good speech. Has that person established their credibility? Have they appealed to our emotions in some way? And did it make sense? Was it logical? Do they sound like, is it organized? Does it follow a natural progression, right? Did they use evidence? So these are the things that we use, I'm sharing screen now, to determine whether a speech is good. And especially in persuasive speaking, we're going to need those three things. Okay. So I want to make this, there we go. Play from current slide. So the keys to a successful speech. This is more of a review than anything else because we've talked about this in class. Know who your audience is. What do they want to hear about? What can they do, right? If you're going to ask people to make changes, is it possible? Are they too old? Meaning, are they old as in so aged that they're not able-bodied to make the changes? Who are you asking to make the change? What change can they make? If you're going to talk about environmental change, someone in their, generally speaking, right, there's always exceptions to the rule, but someone in their late 80s, early 90s is going to have a hard time making physical changes, a harder time making physical changes than someone in their 20s. So always do your audience analysis. Who are you talking to? What are you trying to persuade them to do? And is it something they can do? So your work in this, and just like your work with the informative speech, was to do that research, right? You have to present your research to prove and provide evidence, what we called your supporting materials, to back up what you're saying, right? Because you're not an expert in whatever area that you covered to talk about the social problem that was affecting the Central Valley of California. So you had to do research and find out more and get facts about it and find out more information, and then you had to back that up. And so you're going to have to do the same here, right? It's going to require research, and it's going to require that you make what we call a good argument. And a good argument has worthy reasons for it. Not only you're asking us to make a change, but you're also you're providing the information so that we can make that change. You're going to show us how we can make that change. And actually, in the type of speech I'm going to have you do, you're going to tell us what the world's going to look like when that change is made. That's a good argument, right? A really good persuasive argument. You're going to establish your credibility with the topic. Remember, that's either your connect to the topic. Why did you choose this topic? Why are you persuading on this? It's just like me. Let's say I was going to give a persuasive speech about wolves, right? I'm wearing my wolf shirt today, as you can see. You already know, you kind of know my background, right? I had a wolf hybrid. I just found I've been doing all this house cleaning because of the pandemic and I'm home all the time now, right? So I just found that the material, I think I told you in 1995, they had the reintroduction of wolves to Yellowstone. And at that time, I was a lot younger then. And at that time, my mother bought me these, you could sponsor a wolf. And I sponsored a wolf, and I just found that stuff. I hang on too many things, right? But I just found that information when I was doing some clean out of my office. And my wolf's name was Motomo, right? So if I were going to give a persuasive speech about wolves, I could pull in all that stuff to show the length of time that I have been interested in wolves and committed to their conservation and preservation, committed to protecting them, right? That would really establish my credibility. Not this that I go and talk about it and then I work toward a master's thesis about that particular issue, but that, you know, I've been interested in it for a long time. I have a long years of experience, years of devotion to this particular topic, right? So something to think about and how, again, how you approach your, and how you're going to approach your speech. Okay. And I said this before, I can't harp on it enough. Be realistic about the changes you're asking us to make. Don't ask us to make changes that are not within even our capability to do, right? That's really important. Audience analysis, review situational characteristics, right? How big is your audience? What time of day are you giving the speech? The location, audience mobility. You all are going to be giving your speeches at home, recording them, but you still, the onus is still on you to make that speech as interesting as possible, right? To feel as if, you know, for me, I'm doing this recording. I'm not used to doing recordings, but I'm looking at that green dot and I'm thinking I'm talking to you. So that's going to be your work, is find that actor in you, find that person in you that can imagine that, you know, your audience is out there through that. For me, it's a green dot. I don't know what your camera looks like, and that you're talking to that person. Think about the demographics, age, race, ethnicity, what's the religious background of the people, their political affiliation. Okay, latitude of acceptance and latitude of rejection. So this is really about talking about what is the disposition of the audience. What we talked about, weakening and strengthening. It's like taking it a step farther. Okay, so think about politicians. They have to think about, who are they talking to, right? When President Trump came to talk to the farmers out in the valley, right? And he was giving, I think, a positive message at that time. I didn't follow all of it, but he had, the farmers in the valley are generally on the conservative end. So he had probably a latitude of acceptance when it came to the group of people he was talking to. Now, had he went to like San Francisco, which is like a liberal, progressive mecca of people, generally speaking, he's not going to get, he's going to have a latitude of rejection, right? So your topic, you need to think about, like, where is that in terms of, is the audience in agreement? Are they likely to accept what you have to offer? So if that's true, then what your job is to bring new information, right? So we might all agree the environment's in trouble and we have to do something about it. Give us new information. Give us something new to think about. I keep thinking of a student in my Friday class who, she brought some really new, cool information when she's talking about the movement that she's involved in, and made us think about things in a way, in the way she said it, in a way that I had never thought about it. And I'm pretty radical environmentalist about things. So what can you do to make it interesting for us, even if you know the audience already agrees with your position? And I talked about this earlier, not harping on something, making it sound like you're going over and over and over something can actually end up making us be less interested in what you have to say. If the audience is lacking agreement, your job is to try to win our acceptance. And how are you going to do that? We live in a culture that we like proof and facts. So if you can prove to us, or if you need to appeal to our values or appeal to our emotions in a way, but if you can prove it to us that this is going to work, or that science backs this idea, or there's a proven record that this has worked in maybe another country, right? If you want us to change something, then that's what you need to do to win our acceptance. It can't just be emotion. We're going to need some facts and proof and evidence. Okay, let me look at how we're doing on time right now. Okay, we got good time. All right. How do we make an argument? So an argument has three elements. It's got what we call a claim. Now, those of you that take an argumentation, this is not going to be new for you. This is going to be old hat for you, because persuasive speaking and argumentation, they have a lot of things in common. In fact, in persuasive speaking, you are working on making an argument. That's part of your work. The big difference between argumentation and persuasive speaking is argumentation isn't about your delivery or your emotional appeal. It's not about that. It's about real logic, and you have the facts. Okay, but in persuasive speaking, you need to make a good argument with emotional appeal and the facts. So we have this thing called claim. A claim is an assertion about something. Okay, I'm asserting that my claim is wolves in the United States need to remain protected under the Endangered Species Act. Okay, my evidence, then I have to provide evidence to substantiate it, right? My evidence would be wolves who haven't been protected in the past have been extirpated, which means they've been exterminated. There've been a genocide. Wolves have a purpose in the ecosystem because what they do is they create balance. They're called a mega predator or top predator, and they help create balance. And there's a whole trophic cascades. There's a whole like scientific argument along the lines of why wolves are important, why they need to be protected, because taking a mega predator out of the ecosystem is bad for not just the other animals and the flora and fauna and the trees and the songbirds, but it's bad for humans too. Okay, and the warrant is my reasoning, right? So we're going to talk about reasoning probably in the next thing. We'll get into it a little bit. What that's reasoning means, are we doing it deductively or inductively, right? What kind of reasoning are we using to make our argument? Something for you to be aware of. Most of the time we do this more intuitively than anything else, but we're going to get into logic a little bit in this lecture, but not too much, because I don't want to get off topic on that. Okay, so what is a claim? Claim answers the question, what are you trying to prove? Right? What am I trying to prove? I'm trying to prove that wolves are in danger. Wolves are in danger of losing the protection of the Endangered Species Act, which is actually really true, actually, right now. And so if I'm going to make that claim, that's what we call a factual claim. You can prove it. It's a fact. Okay. A value claim has to do with the claim that you made about right or wrong. So if I were to say it is immoral to kill predators, it is an immoral act, or it's an act against God to kill predators, to kill any predators in the United States. That's a value claim. I'm making a value claim. I'm talking about something that's right or wrong. A policy claim recommends a specific course of action. So if I were to argue, let's say I would argue that the Endangered Species Act needs to be rewritten and maybe it needs to be put into an amendment or put into a law in a way that it's rewritten and can't be changed, or rewritten in a way that it always protects, it can't stop protecting certain animals, or rewritten to encompass the concerns of those of the animals that are going to go extinct. Maybe we should let them go extinct. I'm talking off the top of my head right now, but the point is that a policy recommends a specific course in action. So when I was talking about the wolves, I'm talking about Species Act. The Endangered Species Act already exists, and that's my timer. So that's more has to do with the fact that something that is. A policy claim is recommending something that you want changed, a different policy. Okay, I'm going to stop share there because I'm trying to make these in little vignettes, and I will see you in the next video.